A new week begins for LSU Fighting Tiger football.
Pressure comes, he unloads, and intercepted! Derek Stingley's got it in the end zone!
This is the Coach O Press Conference.
We look forward to seeing our guys today on Tell the Truth Monday, getting back to playing LSU style of football.
Coming up, Coach O sets the tone for this week. But first, from inside the Capital One studios on the campus of LSU, here is former Tiger Gordy Rush and the voice of your Fighting Tigers, Chris Blair.
Good Monday once again, Tiger fans, as we get set for another college football Saturday coming up. The Tigers be back at home to finish out the rest of the regular season. It will start with another SEC matchup, this one with the Arkansas Razorbacks. Kickoff coming your way inside Tiger Stadium just after 6:30. But coming off a really thrilling game on Saturday, unfortunately, albeit in a loss, Alabama gets by 20-14 over LSU. It was no other way to describe it. It was a great college football game. And Gordy Rush, I don't know how many of us, to be perfectly honest, outside of the guys that were in that locker room, believe that it was going to be that type of game. Unfortunately, as I said, LSU comes up short, but it was really fun to be a part of that type of atmosphere, that type of battle.
No doubt. I don't think anybody on either sideline in terms of fans thought that. 29.5-point underdog, LSU came into the game. Even the feeling, Chris, of being outside Bryant-Denny Stadium, it didn't have the LSU-Alabama buzz, but how quickly that changed, especially when LSU jumped on top of them early. Look, credit Coach Orgeron and his staff. Number one, they were able to get the kids up and ready to play, short-handed after that open week. And then secondly, especially on the defensive side, Coach talked about self-scouting, right? He talked about some of the things that he saw and some of the things they had to change. What they did defensively, moving to a 3-4, playing multiple linebackers, meaning having Ojulari on the field, at times having him stand up and play outside backer, but inserting Mike Jones Jr. in full time was huge. I mean, LSU did an incredible job stopping the run against, I think, the best NFL prospect they're going to play in Robinson, Brian Robinson Jr. He's a special running back, and he couldn't get going.
Yeah, and, when you hear and watch Alabama coming into this season, you always get this isn't quite the same defense of this particular year, or Alabama doesn't have the offensive line that they had in this particular year. This is a very good offensive line.
Oh, yes.
LSU got after them. And as I tweeted out when we landed on Saturday night here in Baton Rouge, they got whipped up front. I mean, they got whipped. They were confused. They had trouble picking things up. It was just an incredibly called game and executed game by the Tiger defense. Tip of the cap to Durante Jones and those guys going out there and executing. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the names we were calling time after time after time in that game, obviously some of the veterans who have been able to survive this season, Neil Farrell Jr. maybe playing better over the last couple of games than he has in his entire career. Damone Clark, again, making great plays, busting right through that offensive line to the ball carrier. But then on the back end of the defense, when you go through the list of guys that LSU put on the field, a hand clap for those guys. I mean, they played extremely well. They had really one bust. Yeah. And when you break down the game film, they didn't miss tackles. When they had a chance to make a tackle, wherever it was on the field, the Tigers made the tackle.
Think about it. Pick Cage is a guy that last time we saw him, had an outstanding second scrimmage 2 weeks before the opener. Came in, was playing nickel. At times was guarding Minchie man-to-man and really made some nice tackles in there. Ray Jones got thrown into action at the cornerback position. LSU down to third-string cornerbacks at times. The effort on the defensive side of football was fantastic. And as you mentioned, I think not only with the 3-4, but some of the stunts and the blitzing and LSU so much more aggressive than they had shown so far this season. Alabama simply was not prepared for that.
Again, I think if LSU gets that type of performance, that type of excitement, you can hold me to it, whatever the day is, November 8th, 2021. They play like that, they're going to win the next 3 games. They're going to win the next 3 games. If you get that type of defensive pressure and make those kind of tackles, have great coverage, especially across the middle of the field. That was at times impressive against a pretty good receiving core for Alabama. I think LSU's in good shape over the next 3 weeks. Now, the big question is that the team that will arrive this Saturday, the one that played against Florida, the one that played against Alabama? and they can afford having the team that kind of struggled against Kentucky and obviously struggled against Auburn and struggled against Ole Miss.
Yeah, and that's the big question. These kids have been through so much. Obviously, everybody associated with the program has been through quite a bit this year. How are they going to bounce back? We've seen some incredible efforts against Florida and Alabama. We saw a quarter of football against Ole Miss. At Kentucky, obviously, they got behind in that football game, and it wasn't the sort of effort you expect out of LSU teams. How do they respond after laying it all on the line in Tuscaloosa? That's essentially what they did, and bouncing back to play Arkansas. I can tell you normally, you know you're going to get in an Alabama game, Chris, from 1 to 10, you're going to get a 12 effort out of these kids. Arkansas is never a 12 effort. I've seen enough of them. Thankfully, we're playing in Baton Rouge. We're not playing in Fayetteville. It's not going to be 20 degrees. It's going to be reasonable, probably a nice night for football. So all that's not a factor. Hopefully, they're able to bounce back and give the similar type of effort Saturday night.
Now, look, follow me through this theory here. Obviously, you would like to have the guys, especially on defense, that you started the season with. There's no question about it. But there's one small silver lining in this, to your point about the type of effort you'll get. The guys who will go out on the field this coming Saturday against Arkansas, there is a lot for those guys to prove to a lot of people. So I still think you will get that type of effort. I think that coming off what you were able to do against Alabama in that atmosphere against that team and then carry that over, I think you're going to get the energy. And I believe you wholeheartedly that Arkansas takes this game a lot more seriously as a rivalry game, so to speak,
no doubt,
than LSU does.
No doubt.
But I think because these younger guys that were expected to play kind of spot roles this season are now out there starting and having to take 70, 80 snaps on defense, I think you're going to get the energy.
That's something to be said about, we go back to Pig Cage. I mean, this is a chance of a lifetime for Pig Cage to step up and play. You're seeing effort out of him. Mike Jones is finally getting a chance to play on the football field. He was fantastic. Damone Clark continues to be an incredible leader on the defensive side. Those seniors in the front seven, those upperclassmen have really brought a lot of energy and doing a great job of helping to lead the offensive side of the team. So I think you're going to get that sort of effort defensively. I think the storyline this week is offensively. You faced a good Alabama defense, a coordinator that is known for bringing pressure, for playing great bump and run, man-to-man defense out on the edge. He's the best at teaching that technique. And the passing game was inconsistent, right? Inconsistent against Alabama. They're going to have to be better for LSU to beat Arkansas on Saturday.
Let's start with the positives. There's a couple of things that rarely happen. Number one, going back to the defense, holding Alabama to 6 yards net rushing. I mean, that is unheard of. And that is what will drive a coach like Nick Saban crazy, because when you're up 20-7, typically that's when they go line up, run the football, move the chains, and you never get the ball back. And again, the defense did the job. 4 in a row, 3 and outs. I think 4 out of their last 5 possessions. So that's impressive. So 6 yards net rushing. Todd Polich did all the research. It goes back a long way, and it hasn't happened very often. Offensively, what also doesn't happen very often, Alabama was giving up about 89 yards on the ground per game this year on defense, and Ty Davis-Price, 104 yards rushing. It's very hard for any individual running back to score or rack up that type of yardage against an Alabama defense. And, he had the big play that set up the opportunity at the 8-yard line in the second half. But he also stuck with it, and I thought the offensive line, I want to give them credit because they stuck with it.
Yep.
4 yards here, 5 yards here. When they needed 3 yards for a first down, they were able to get 6. I just thought they played really inspired football for a position group that's been much maligned most of the year.
Yeah, and the adjustments they've made, especially with that 11 package, meaning 1 tight end, 1 running back with Mashburn and pulling, right? They've finally found a scheme now that works. We see a whole lot of counters. And not only, look, you didn't have the big numbers like you did against Florida, which obviously not. That's a school record, what Davis-Price was able to do. But even it might not have been 5 or 6 yards, but it was 2, 3, 4 yards, and it was establishing that physicality, right, that you need to win in the SEC. I think first and foremost, it let Alabama know that LSU was here to play, and it was going to be a physical football game. And then secondly, obviously, when you run the football, the clock runs. And I thought LSU did a nice job throughout this game with time of possession and considering that you had the 2 turnovers, right, early in the game when it mattered that hurt you there. LSU still did a good job of maintaining possession and playing a little bit of keep away. And it got cold in the second half. And offensively, Alabama struggled after some of those LSU drives.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, again, I think going into the matchup, you had told me there were going to be 2 early turnovers on the road at Bryant-Denny Stadium against Alabama, and in the fourth quarter you would have a chance to win that football game. It would have been hard for me to believe. Now, I want to say this clearly. Our job on Saturday, Gordy, we describe what happens. It's not our job to say this is what should happen or this is what I think will happen. Literally, I'm there. Once it happens, I tell you about it. So, obviously, we all have a little bit of armchair quarterback when it comes to Sunday morning after an LSU game. But the one thing I'll say, and you touched on it during the broadcast even before kickoff, I had a chance to be around Ed, obviously, for his radio show. I just got a sense that when it came down to that game Saturday night, whatever the number said to win the game is what the call was going to be. It wasn't about tying the game. It wasn't about getting it to overtime. It was about winning the football game.
Yeah, look, I saw Coach O at the hotel on Friday, and he told me, whatever gadget play, whatever we need to do to win, kitchen sink. I mean, he's coming in playing with house money, had nothing to lose, and played with it. Look, the football percentages absolutely say you should have kicked the field goal and roll with it.
Sure, I understand the argument.
Being around Coach Orgeron, and if you watched on television, you saw the emotion that he poured into the game. Like, there was no doubt. There was no doubt. I was down on the field, and that so the fourth down came after the third down in which Max Johnson was fumbled, and then they overruled the turn because his arm was going forward, which was a correct call, and the defense was on the field. And soon as somebody in the press box realized it was going to get flipped, they radioed Ed. Ed was jumping up and down. He personally pulled the defense off the field, get the offense on the field. There was no special teams. There was no Cade York. He was going for it. And it's one of those things that, we're having a different conversation if LSU connects there. They're able to connect on that slant. Was it to Neighbors on that play? We're having a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game of inches. We all know that. We've heard that since we followed the game of football. Couple of notes before we move ahead and look at the Arkansas game. And don't forget, coming up at the bottom of the hour, head coach Ed Orgeron. It's the Coach O press conference this week presented by Cox Communications. He'll talk about this past Saturday. I'm sure he'll get questions about this past Saturday, but something tells me he's going to quickly turn the page, try to get that same energy and results from his squad coming up against Arkansas. But Jack Mashburn, Jack Besh, one of the things you said during the broadcast on the radio was right now he's getting separation. Now, he didn't get all the targets. He got a couple, and the throws were off a little bit. Although he did make, I believe, 5 receptions in the game, if memory serves, 5 or 6. I had a touchdown, big touchdown, where, again, his yards after the catch. He made the catch at the 5. They had defenders there, but I just had a sense when he made the catch he was going to get to the end zone, and he did. But he was making separation. I mean, you're talking about a pretty good secondary there, and he was losing the nickel. How important is it to have Mashburn, who is a key cog in the running game, but also Besh out there when you do have RPOs, when you do want to go to the air?
And that's something I thought we would see both of them on the field at the same time. Of course, they're interchangeable parts, playing that H-back, if you will. And here's what I think Besh brings you in the slot better than any other receiver that you have, is if you keep him on the field with Mashburn. First off, the nickel has to play straight up, right? And that's the toughest place to play bump and run, man-to-man, because you can't play a certain technique. Outside guys play inside technique because they have the sideline. So really, you just have to worry about one cut. You have to play him head up out of the slant. One, Besh is real polished in his route running. Secondly, he's really, really physical.
Yeah. And
he understands that when he's coming off the ball and his release, a lot of times he's going to go in there and make contact and able to get separation just because of how bulky he is. So the combination of both, I think he's your best operator out of the slot position as a wide receiver. I was hoping to see more of that and him making that transition in the open week because they had 2 weeks to prepare instead of him just being an interchangeable piece. We'll see if that's something maybe they introduce against Arkansas.
Yeah, we'll find out. Coach O may address it here in the press conference coming up in just a few moments. We're going to take a quick break. We come back. We'll kind of give you an overview of the Arkansas Razorbacks who come in this Saturday kickoff inside Tiger Stadium just after 6:30. Fans, don't forget, you're finally back at home for a Tiger football game in almost a month, so bring some flavor to your game day with Tabasco hot sauce. Go Tigers and go Tabasco, the official hot sauce of LSU Athletics. The Coach O press conference presented by Cox Communication, More coming up after these quick words.
Do you have Medicare and make less than $1,615 per month? Or do you have Medicare and Medicaid? You may be eligible for extra benefits you're not getting now, and you may be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan from People's Health. Don't wait. If you enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan from People's Health today, your benefits may begin the first day of next month. Call 1-855-410-7761. That's 1-855-410-7761. People's Health, your Medicare health team.
Your team is on a 3-game winning streak, and you're convinced it's because you've worn your lucky football jersey and haven't taken it off. Not for work, a wedding, or even bathing. With Cox, you can actually wear it all season long because we give you game day coverage and content 24/7. So join us and dress accordingly.
Hey, Tiger fans, just say Fan Zone into your Contour voice remote and enhance your game day experience all week long. Play games, win prizes. Cox, we're LSU fans 24/7. LSU Tiger fans are gearing up with real Tigers apparel and merchandise from the official online store at lsushop.net. Get jerseys, sideline gear, polos, t-shirts, hats, official team merchandise from Nike, accessories, and much more. Over 3,600 products, all shipped right to your door. Head to the place real Tiger fans go for the selection only real Tiger fans get at lsushop.net.
We always picture the SEC student athlete for their speed, their vertical, their agility. But it's time we picture them for more. For their campus voice, their community outreach, and for the simple fact that 20 years later, they're still someone's pride and joy. More than students, more than athletes. In the SEC, it just means more.
Leading you up to this week's Coach O press conference. Here again are Gordy Rush and Chris Blair.
Coach O going to join us in just a moment from the Lawton Room. Talk about this past Saturday and then set the tone for the week as LSU will host Arkansas. 6:30 kickoff inside Tiger Stadium. Not a lot of time here, Gordy. We talked so much about last week's game, but Arkansas, a team that certainly to start the year had all the buzz. Tripped up, had a 3-game losing streak there in the middle part. After SEC play began, but now kind of finding it. They're kind of a team that likens themselves to a team of luck and fate. This is their year, and of course it worked this past Saturday as Mississippi State just couldn't find anybody to kick a field goal.
Unbelievable. They're having open tryouts right now. The Pirate, Mike Leach said he's having open tryouts, so that'll be interesting over there, and maybe they're doing it at Duty Noble Field out there as we speak. But, yeah, Mississippi State unable to put that game away. Arkansas comes away a winner, 6-3 on the season. And, look, they're fundamentally sound. This is not a dynamic Arkansas team. They returned some key people from a year ago, and Sam Pittman's done a nice job of building Arkansas back away from being 2-10 the last 2 seasons.
It's interesting because they are a physical team. That's kind of what they do. They're very balanced. I listened to some of the guys on the SEC network talk about they are the stereotypical take what the defense gives you kind of offense, with Kendall Briles calling the plays as offensive coordinator. But it's almost when you look at the numbers that if you take away Treylon Burks, the incredible wide receiver, that the passing game really falls off a cliff. Now, of course, stopping Treylon Burks is easier said than done, but outside of that, he is the playmaker.
Well, Burks is 6'3", 225. He has 48 receptions on the year, 9 touchdowns. The next closest receiver has 16. That's a considerable drop-off. He is the go-to guy without a question for K.J. Jefferson. But I think what they want to do is Kendall Briles is obviously one of the hottest names as an offensive coordinator in the business, was down there with Lane Kiffin at Florida Atlantic, had a cup of coffee at Florida State, and found his way up in Fayetteville and is here now. He's got K.J. Jefferson, who I think is starting to grow and bake a little bit as a quarterback. This is a dual-threat quarterback. He's got 433 yards rushing, 4.7 per clip. And so you're going to see the zone read. You're going to see the RPOs. But when they have to they're going to go to Burks. He's their big play guy.
I wanted to ask you the same thing I asked you last week on this very show. How do you try to contain Bryce Young? Do you want him getting loose in the pocket? Do you want to keep him in the pocket? Same question quickly for KJ Jefferson from what you've seen.
A lot of pressure. I mean, if I'm this new look LSU defense, I think the kids feel more comfortable attacking. You showed that you could cover on the back end. The question is, how do you handle Burks? For me, I almost want to run McLaughlin with him all over the football field. He's got size, and he can run with him.
Arkansas coming in to take on LSU. Again, kickoff at 6:30 inside Tiger Stadium. Hope to see you there. We'll go to the Lawton Room. Head coach Ed Orgeron addresses the media on the Coach O press conference presented by Cox Communications.
Saturday, all last week. I love the mindset of our team. Like I said, we went there to win the game. I really felt that we were a better team that night, and I still feel that way after watching the film. Just a couple plays short. Like I said in my press conference after, I wish we could have put our offense in better position to make some plays, especially on the 8-yard line down there. We had a chance to score. Really proud of our defense. For our defense to hold them to 26 points below their season average. First time in 34 games they didn't score 30 points. Dominated the run. Think about this, 6 yards rushing, tied for the lowest rushing yards in school history. And they've had some great football teams here that have gone there. And that's you got to give the credit to our players and give the credit to our defensive coaches for holding them to 6-yard rushing. I thought that was a phenomenal deal and shows that we are physically tough here at LSU. 4-13 on third down, 30%. They were first in the country. I just thought our defense whooped their offensive butt. I thought they did a great job. And Damone Clark and Neil Farrell played an outstanding job. But give the credit to our coaches. They fought hard. On special teams, we called it the St. Paul's, man. They practice all week. Jack and Avery practice it. Coach Mack put it together, and the situation came up. The first punt, we said if we were around the 50, and it's 4th and 5 or less, we're going to call it. And we called timeout, and we got it called. And Avery ran up there screaming, run, run, run. It was executed perfect. What a great call by Coach Mack. And give credit to Avery and Jack and all the guys that ran the deal. It was a great play, and it was fun to see it, and it was fun to see us put in a position to score. On offense, we got work to do. You know, Ty Davis had 100 yards rushing. I really liked the way he ran the football, but we just couldn't get a steady pace ahead of the change. We fall behind the change, and their pass rush was too much for us at times, and we just didn't have a good enough plan. And this week we're going to let Max start, but we're going to put in Garrett. Garrett's going to get some plays. I already talked to him, and we're going to let the best man win. And, it's time to let Garrett play. He's a great quarterback. I like Max a lot. Max is still our starting quarterback, but I will give Garrett a chance. I talked to him. He wants to play, so he will play against Arkansas. And the guy that ends up playing the best is going to play the most. On Arkansas, Sam Pittman is a great coach, great offensive line coach. I'm so glad to see the job that he's doing at Arkansas. I'm happy for him. He's a good man. He's a hard-working man. He's a spread on offense. He's an offensive line that's very well coached. Big quarterback that's going to run the ball, hurry up offense, led by Traylon Burks. I recruited Traylon, a great basketball player, a great young man. I feel like he's one of the best players on the team, one of the best players in the SEC. On defense, their coach is a great coach, 3-2-5, 3-2-6 scheme with 5 returning starters, 24 points per game. They're very multiple. Trey Williams, defensive end, 55, leads them in sacks. Monteric Brown and Grant Morgan, outstanding players. This is a very well-coached team, a hard-playing team. Any questions?
Ed, good morning. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. With Garrett and Max, you kind of mean like they'll split reps in practice and that kind of thing? Yeah. Or in the game they'll kind of both share time and then one will take over at some point?
Both. They'll split reps in practice, and we're going to play both Max and Garrett. Max is going to start, but I'm going to give Garrett significant snaps at the beginning of the game, and then we'll see how it goes.
Hey, Coach, after 9 games this year, do you feel like offensively you don't have an identity or things you can hang your hat on, or how do you look at your offense?
Yeah, it sort of looks like that, to be honest with you. I wish we had more of an identity. of what we're doing. Things break down. Obviously, I thought our run game came alive against Florida. Our protection, we're still having problems in our protections. We're still not efficient on third down. That's more or less some play calling, more or less some execution.
Hey, Coach, up here to your left. Obviously, you kind of alluded to it in your opening statement about being encouraged about the way you played.
Yeah.
Obviously, raising the level for Alabama is one thing. How confident are you that they can carry this into the remainder of the schedule?
I feel good about it. I feel good about the mindset of the team. You know, Tommy and Moffitt, we always work out on Monday morning. The team was great this morning. You know, I told them, hey, you play like this, we may win the rest of our games and go to a bowl, and they deserve that. But we got to take it one at a time. Arkansas is a very good team. They have a very good record. But I think this team's going to finish strong. I see a lot of fight in them. I see a lot of guys getting opportunity, like Sony Fanu getting opportunity, wanting to playing their butts off. There's a lot of older guys, Neil Farrell. They came back to have a good year, and this means a lot. Not only the record, but these guys are playing to go to the NFL, and they want to have a good showing.
Ed, how much will the Max and Garrett split be the theme going forward for the quarterback situation?
Yeah, it'll be 50-50 in practice. We'll let them split it, and we haven't decided. Jake and I talked about it this morning. We haven't decided exactly how we're going to do it in the game. It may be first quarter, second quarter, maybe a couple series. This series, it all depends how practice goes, depends how the game plan is. But we'll see. We'll see. If Max plays better than Garrett, he's going to be the starter. If Garrett plays better than Max, he's going to be the starter. We'll let him battle it out.
Hey, Coach. Is blitzing, as much as you did in the Alabama game, is that going to continue to be a part of the game plan? And was having a lot of starters out of the secondary kind of the reason for that?
It was a combination of both. We felt that we weren't playing the run very well in our base 4-3 defense, so we wanted to give them different looks. What we did, we stemmed out of a 3-4 look a lot of times, which gave them problems. They weren't ready for it. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to expound on our blitz package and see where it takes us. But it is good. It's a combination of both. You know, we have a package that we show a bare front, but we drop 8, which is good with 3-man rush. And we have one we're playing zero coverage. We never played zero coverage since I've been the head coach here. And it was a reason for the sack fumble at the end. It worked very well. Now you're gambling. You're playing zero coverage. One busted coverage is a touchdown. But yes, we're going to continue to do it.
Ed, you talked last week, I believe, about Garrett has he had the opportunity to redshirt or the opportunity to play more. In the discussion, just talk about the discussions with him to go forward with this plan. How much he's eager to try to play, because he could end up burning the whole year.
Yeah,
obviously.
He was mad. He didn't play. And I talked to his father, Doug, a lot, respect a lot. And we had talked on Thursday. There had to be snaps where they were significant, and that if we put him in, he's going to play the rest of the year. And I didn't feel that it was time to throw him in there for a couple of plays and then us burn his redshirt year. I didn't want to do that to him. And he came in the office yesterday and was adamant about playing. His father called Jake and says, listen, hey, here's the plan. He wants to play. Let him play. So that's what we're doing. So obviously it looks like right now he may not redshirt. It all depends on how the game goes, but that's his choice, and that's what he wants to do.
Coach, could you go over the 2 fourth-down plays late in the game on the goal line, and then the one to Besh, like looking at the film and what you went over with Max? And some people say Max holds the ball a little too long, but all the hits he's taken too, is that causing him to be a little quick with the passes?
Max has done very well taking some hits, and he's completed some balls, and he's hung in there like a man. Sometimes he does hold the ball too long. Jack was open, the ball was high. True. And he had pressure on him, but Jack was open. If the ball was a little bit lower, Jack would have called it. I thought it was a good call. The ball was too high.
Couple of things, Ed. Is it a mechanics thing with Max that it seems like a lot of those balls were sailing on him, one? Mm-hmm. And two, in this situation, sometimes coaches can't get players to play hard, but you've managed to do that. What do you attribute that to?
Well, it was Alabama LSU, number one. And we knew we had to play lights out just to stick with them. We knew that. And we're prepared to do that. I think the end of the year, some people may be looking to quit the year and had enough. I don't see that in this team. I don't see that in me for sure. I'm going to enjoy all these 3 weeks every day. Love coaching for the Tigers. And I think when you have proper leadership, that this team is going to finish strong. You got guys like Damone Clark, Neil Farrell, Ty Davis coming around. These guys want to finish strong. So I'm not worried about that. With Max, it is mechanics sometimes, but it is a matter of his proper reads. Where should he go according to the coverage? Sometimes he's doing it right. Sometimes he's doing it wrong.
Coach, not a lot of people had seen the animation from you on the sideline Saturday. Is this what you were talking about, the weight lifted off, and is it just you having more fun? And why haven't you been like that previous to this year, do you think?
That's a good question. You know what? Just going into that stadium, there had been so much made of the statement that I made, and they were going to do this to me and all that stuff. I just wanted to compete, and I love competing. And I don't take things said about me personally. I don't take that lightly. I can't say nothing about it, but I can do something about it. And neither I or our team was intimidated by anybody, and I mean anybody, on the sideline of Alabama or in the stadium. We went there to win. No disrespect to them. Great coaches, great team, great fans, but we were not going to go in there and get intimidated. So that's what you saw. Good question.
Ed, just injury updates for the week. Mason, Cordell, Sage, Major, any of them could come back?
Yeah, Sage is not going to be back. We may get Mason back the last game. I don't know yet. We should get Cordell Flott back this week. The rest of the guys are going to be okay. Some of the guys are limited right now, but those are the guys that I know for sure. Sage and Mason will not play this week.
With so many starters out on your defensive line, but you still have Neil Farrell, Glenn Logan, but you've had a couple of young guys like B.J. Ojulari and Jacqueline Roy contribute this season. What have you seen out of those two younger guys? What do they bring to the table?
Yeah, B.J. is a force, and he's a force on special teams too. Outstanding player. All B.J. ever says is yes, sir. He's a great young man. Great worker. I've seen a lot of maturity in Jacqueline Roy. I feel that both of those young men have a chance to be high draft picks. I've seen Jacqueline Roy learn his craft, come to work, is in better condition, has a great attitude towards work all day. So if he continues that, I think he's ended up being a great player here. And also Sonny. You look at Sonny. Sonny's played tackle, nose, in for us. He finally got his chance to start. He was in the big game. He loved it. He did very well. I'm so happy for those guys that kept on fighting.
Coach, after the way the year has gone, how much would it mean to the team to make a bowl game?
It mean a lot. I think it mean a lot. And it starts with Arkansas. You know what I'm saying? I think that these guys want to keep on playing. I think it's good for the team. I think it's good for the younger guys to have 15 extra practices. There's a lot of guys with the skills we can get better at. I think it would be good for everybody. As long as it has blue water and white beaches.
I know it's been probably a couple weeks since we asked you about this, but do you guys expect to have Derek Stingley back at all this year?
Not that I know of. I haven't heard anything different. Nothing has changed that I know of.
Coach, Kayshon Boutte been out of the lineup for a while, but do you feel like you're still kind of trying to make up for his absence in terms of explosive plays?
Yeah, he's a dominant player. It's hard to replace that guy. Not the other guys are not as good. They just haven't come as fast as Kayshon has. Kayshon's a dominant player. He's just like those guys who just went to the NFL. He's a first-round pick. He's a great route runner, speed, strong hands. We haven't replaced him, no doubt. But we have some young guys that I think eventually are going to be as good.
Ed, I know you started your coaching career basically at Arkansas as an assistant strength coach 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Could you have imagined back then, what were you hoping that your career would be? And it could, obviously, I'm sure you're just looking for a foot in the door, right,
Yes.
at that point. Could you have imagined what this journey would be like, good and bad, throughout your career?
Think about this. I went there. I made $25 every 2 weeks. That was my check. I lived in the dormitory, and I remember going, man, you get to eat, so I can go and eat. And then I walked there on Saturday morning, and I saw something white, a big bowl of white stuff. And I asked my partner, I said, what is that? He said, that's gravy. I said, no, gravy ain't white where I'm from. But, it was a great experience. My first time in Division I football. They let me be a strength coach. I was assistant strength coach, really at GA. Then Coach Hatfield brought me on the field. I worked with Coach Hatfield and Coach Goldsmith. And then they taught me how to break down film. I was always there early in the morning. I worked with Coach Hatfield on special teams. It was a wonderful experience. And that experience at Arkansas got me to be a GA at Miami because those guys knew Coach Johnson in Tuberville. So it was a great connection. It was a great springboard. No, I never dreamed all this stuff was happening. I'm very thankful, and I loved Arkansas. I really have. Dean Weber hired me there. He's still a good friend of mine. Coach Hatfield will come have breakfast with me when we go up there. I made a lot of great friends. It's a great place.
Coach, assuming you guys become bowl eligible, these guys that are out for the year but not serious injuries, these lingering things, will any of them be healthy for the bowl?
Hopefully. We haven't gone that far, but I think Mason Smith is a guy that maybe the last game he's going to be healthy. I think there's a couple of guys that could be. I don't think Kayshawn will be, nothing like that, or Elias, or I don't expect Derek to be there. But maybe a couple of other guys will get healthy. We haven't been that far. We haven't gone that far. Anybody got? All right, thank you, guys. Have a good day. Go Tigers.
Coach Ed Orgeron with the Coach O press conference today, brought to you by Cox Communications. And just this interesting note, is it just me, or does it seem like Coach O's having fun? I know it's a tough loss. A loss is a loss, but a little lighter in today's press conference. I think thrilled with his team's performance and excited about what they can do starting this coming Saturday when they host a really good team in the Arkansas Razorbacks, a team that's going to come in here certainly with all of the momentum and all of the mindset of defeating LSU. That's what they do whenever they get a chance to play LSU. But for the Tigers, will they be able to match it and then some? We'll just have to wait and see. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, we'll set the rest of the broadcast schedule for the week and send you on your way. It's the Coach O press conference presented by Cox Communications.
Support your LSU Tigers with Hancock Whitney, the official bank of LSU Athletics. From game day to the offseason, Hancock Whitney LSU credit and debit cards are a big win for any Tiger fan. Want to get your paws on these cards? Well, apply online or visit HancockWhitney.com/LSU. Hancock Whitney Bank, member FDIC. All accounts subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply.
Our Lady of the Lake, just like LSU, is anchored by deep roots put down almost a century ago. We share a singular vision to advance health, education, and research to serve the incredible people of Louisiana. Our partnership with LSU is inspired by our passions for knowledge and our commitments to our community and healthy Louisiana families. Together, there's nowhere we can't go. Our Lady of the Lake is proud to be the healthcare provider of LSU Athletics.
Hey, Tiger fans, this is Chris Blair inviting you to become part of our LSU Athletics podcast world. For the very latest on the Tigers, whenever it's convenient for you, catch Cody Worsham and number 18, Jacob Hester, for the Hay Fighting Podcast, a look inside LSU football. Join me and hear from some of the great voices of college sports on Hearing Voices. Get up to speed on the Tigers' next opponent with LSU Recon, plus replays of the Ed Orgeron Show and many more. Find them all at lsusports.net/podcast, on the LSU Sports mobile app, and anywhere podcasts can be found. Subscribe today.
We always picture the SEC student athlete for their speed, their vertical, their agility. But it's time we picture them for more. For their campus voice, their community outreach, and for the simple fact that 20 years later, they're still someone's pride and joy. More than students, more than athletes. In the SEC, it just means more.
This is the Coach O press conference.
Want to remind you, fans, you get your chance to talk with head coach Ed Orgeron coming up Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, the Ed Orgeron Show live from TJ Ribs. If you can't make it out to the restaurant, you're welcome to call in or even tweet us a question. And if you haven't downloaded the LSU Sports mobile app, here's the invitation to do so, because each Wednesday you can submit a question through the mobile app. Coming up on Saturday, we'll get our broadcast day started at 4:30 with LSU Game Day presented by Your View. We'll have the guys get the day started. It'll be nice to be back at Tiger One Village. It'll be nice to be back at Tiger Stadium. Hopefully the weather's going to agree with us. We'll keep an eye on that as we get closer. But at 4:30, LSU Game Day presented by Your View. It'll be Hunt Palmer, Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite. They'll break down the matchup and then hand it off to Gordy Rush, Doug Morrow, and myself inside Tiger Stadium for the play-by-play action of LSU hosting Arkansas. Kickoff again just after 6:30. Thanks to Gordy Rush for always sitting in, and to you for joining us. And we'll be back here next week, same time, same channel. Until then, this is Chris Blair. So long, everybody, and go Tigers.
This has been the Coach O Press Conference. For the very latest, follow LSU football on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, or log on to lsusports.net.